5 days. That is all the time we have left. Today is December 16th, 2025. In 96 hours, the interstellar visitor designated object C/2025X1 will make its nearest pass by our planet. The public bulletins, the polished statements from official agencies, the headlines on your feed, they are all synchronized. They assure us it is merely a space rock, a wandering iceberg from a distant sun, making a harmless transit before vanishing forever into the dark. They promise it poses no threat. They emphasize the distance, 275 million kilometers. They insist there is zero cause for alarm. But you are here, watching this, because you sense the gaps in that official narrative. You understand that in the quiet spaces between the published data, another story is struggling to emerge. Welcome. If you are new to this channel, you have tuned in at the pivotal hour. Please subscribe and enable alerts, because what unfolds over these next 4 days will fundamentally alter our cosmic perspective. You cannot afford to miss a single report. Let's examine the current reality. At this moment, observatories across the globe are fixed on the calculated position of visitor X1 and their collective finding: an unsettling absence. Fresh data compiled from private research stations and skilled amateurs with advanced optics. Instruments with apertures of 130 mm or more consistently show the object is vanishingly dim, hovering around magnitude 12. For a celestial body allegedly ejecting vapor and debris for a supposedly active comet, its signal is phantom-like. It is barely detectable. Why? The conventional answer points to its modest size, perhaps only 350 meters wide. But does that align with precedent? We have witnessed comets of similar dimensions before. They flare into visibility. They catch the light. This traveler appears to be operating differently. It is almost as if it isn't reflecting radiation, but consuming it. Or maybe it controls when it becomes visible. This leads us to the most alarming development of the last 48 hours. The quiet from Martian orbit. We must discuss the MAVEN orbiter. Since its arrival in 2014, it has been our sentinel at Mars, studying its atmospheric evolution. It is dependable. It has relayed data from surface rovers for years. It does not simply cease functioning. Yet on December 7th, contact was severed. Complete radio silence. You might argue that hardware fails. And that is true. But observe the chronology. Consider the context. On October 10th, MAVEN captured a series of readings, not routine data. It analyzed visitor X1 as the object passed within 55 million kilometers of Mars. Those readings detected an immense, unexpected halo of neutral hydrogen enveloping the visitor. A cloud of that scale and density is anomalous for a simple inert stone. Dr. Eris Thorne, the Cambridge astrophysicist who first flagged the oddities of earlier interstellar objects, highlighted this just 36 hours ago. He noted MAVEN's systems were optimal before the encounter. All indicators were green. It gathered the anomalous data, transmitted it, and then silence. The network listens, but MAVEN does not speak. A random malfunction? Possibly. But in analysis, in the study of patterns at this magnitude, we cannot afford to dismiss correlation when the implications are profound. Did the orbiter perceive something it was not meant to? Did it approach an entity that prefers not to be observed? Consider the path. Visitor X1 entered from the galactic center, descended below our solar plane, curved around our star, and is now ascending outward. It passed Mars. Now it passes Earth. And as it does, our instruments falter. We are informed its path is hyperbolic. It is not bound to our sun, it is departing. But its behavior, the observed non-gravitational boosts in velocity, the manner of its propulsion without a clear, visible coma to justify the force. It contradicts simple celestial mechanics. Professor Thorne has posed the essential question. What if the irregularities are not glitches, but design? What if the gas emissions are not chaotic, but purposefully channeled? We are witnessing an object fading when conventional models demand it brighten. We are confronting a probe that went dark after examining it. We are observing a scientific establishment that is perplexed yet maintains a composed facade. And we have 4 days until the moment of closest approach, December 19th. What will transpire then? Some hypotheses propose the nearest pass is when a full survey would be executed. If you were an automated scout from another star system, you would collect your most crucial data at perihelion and during close passage by habitable planets. You would sample our radio transmissions. You would chart our magnetic field. You would assay our atmospheric chemistry. Perhaps MAVEN was merely the initial point of contact. A contact that proved overwhelming. Reflect on the genesis of radical concepts. Thorne speaks of theories born prematurely. He discusses how machine learning cannot yet formulate these leaps. It requires a human intellect to link the disparate dots, to recognize that a hydrogen shroud, a mute satellite, and a dimming interstellar body could be fragments of one larger picture. We are the ones who must assemble it. In my next briefing, I will analyze the precise orbital dynamics that are causing unease among specialists. We will scrutinize the omissions in the public data release from 24 hours ago. There is a motive for stating it is invisible to the unaided eye. They prefer we not gaze upward. They prefer we remain focused downward on our screens, preoccupied by digital noise, while the genuine anomaly glides soundlessly past. But we are gazing upward. Stay with me. The coming 96 hours may be the most consequential in our species chronicle. This is Visitor X1, and it is not merely passing by. If you seek the unvarnished facts, press like. Subscribe to Winds of Thought to participate in uncovering what comes next. I will see you in the next update. Now let's probe further. We must address the velocity. When Visitor X1 was first identified, it traveled at 218,000 km/h. Rapid, yet plausible for an interstellar entity drawn into our gravity. However, as it rounded the sun, a shift occurred. It gained speed. It achieved 242,000 km/h at its solar closest approach. Gravity explains the majority, yet not the entirety. The phenomenon known as non-gravitational acceleration exists, a clinical sterile term for a potentially startling reality. It signifies the object is propelling itself. For a typical comet, this is straightforward. Solar heat vaporizes ices, gas erupts, acting as a natural thruster. Physics we comprehend. But here lies the complication with Visitor X1. Where is the comet's tail? That is the question that unravels everything. If a celestial body is venting enough volatile material to alter its trajectory, to propel a mass the scale of a skyscraper, we should witness a brilliant plume. The night sky should be marked by its passage. Yet we observe the opposite. Our instruments register only a faint, ethereal blur. An object at magnitude 12, scarcely perceptible to our finest ground-based optics. So we are faced with a paradox, an entity that gains speed as though under power, while concealing the very mechanism of its thrust. A prominent researcher has posed this puzzle for years, first with earlier visitors and now with this one. He describes an anomalous acceleration. I would label it a controlled maneuver. Consider the hydrogen envelope the Martian orbiter detected before its systems failed. Hydrogen is the universe's fundamental building block. It is also a potent propellant. If you were engineering a vessel for deep space, you wouldn't depart with a full tank. You would collect fuel en route, gathering it from the void or from planetary atmospheres you encounter. Did our satellite observe this visitor replenishing its reserves? The sequence is troubling. The object passes Mars, shrouded in hydrogen. The orbiter records the data. Then the orbiter falls silent. Now, its path is set toward Earth, December 19th. The moment of nearest passage. It will remain 275 million kilometers distant. That seems vast. It is vast. But in the context of capabilities beyond our own, proximity is redefined. If this is an investigative probe, it need not descend upon our cities to fulfill its purpose. It only requires a vantage point sufficient to listen and to analyze. Then we must confront the omissions in the public tracking data. New orbital elements were released, yet the timelines contain voids. Periods where monitoring simply ceases. Official site network upkeep or system errors. But sources within satellite tracking communities state that for a high-interest target at this juncture, such losses are not typical. Not unless the target itself is avoiding observation. We are observing an entity with extremely low reflectivity. It is dark. It swallows light. It is discrete. It travels with clear intent. And it propagates quietness in its path. The coming 4 days will challenge not only scientific institutions, but all of us. We must remain vigilant. We must circulate this knowledge before it is submerged beneath the comforting tale of an inert stone. In the segment to follow, I will detail the December 19th convergence. Whispers within astrophysical circles point to an anticipated emission or beacon that could be broadcast at the point of closest encounter. We will examine which frequencies are under watch, and why our most sensitive listeners are now aimed at a supposedly dead object. You will not find this reporting on mainstream broadcasts. Stay with me. The clock is ticking. Press like to amplify this message. Share this with those who need to know. We must be prepared.
We are now within the final 100-hour window. The anticipation is tangible. I referenced the December event. Let's define what that entails. While optical scopes grapple with this dim, elusive form, our radio telescopes are engaged in a far more intriguing activity. They are heeding the silence. You do not aim facilities like the Deep Space Network or the Allen Array at a mere frozen pebble unless you anticipate a form of communication. Presently, a synchronized watch is underway, monitoring very specific bandwidths in the visitor's direction. The rationale? A postulate murmured in scholarly forums but absent from press conferences suggests interstellar craft may function in intermittent cycles. They stay dormant, covert, and dark to conserve energy and minimize detection risk. But upon reaching their objective, at the precise instant of closest approach, they activate. They may dispatch a concentrated data burst toward their origin or transmit a scanning pulse toward the target. A digital handshake. December 19th represents that instant. A separation of 275 million kilometers is, cosmically speaking, next door. It is adequate range for a detailed spectroscopic scan of our biosphere. Close enough to detect industrial compounds in our air, the technosignatures that proclaim technological civilization. This returns me to a recent paper's theme, concepts that artificial intelligence cannot yet birth. The author speaks of the genesis of novel paradigms of human ingenuity's unique role. Yet there exists a subtext. He notes the hydrogen cloud the orbiter saw. He discusses the dawn of a new comprehension. What if the revelation is not an idea, but a visitor? What if we are not the sole creators in this cosmic arena? Our arrogance is profound. We presume we are evolution's apex. We believe we will be the architects of starfaring synthetic intellect. But what if another civilization preceded us? What if this interstellar traveler is the offspring of an ancient culture, dispatched eons ago to drift through the abyss in search of company? And now, it has located us. The Martian orbiter's muteness is currently the solar system's most deafening sound. It implies our technology is fragile. It suggests that when we peered intently, something returned the gaze. So what occurs on the 19th? If a pulse is emitted, we may never detect it. It could be encoded. It could be a narrow beam transmission aimed away from Earth. Or it might be a discharge so intense it interferes with our own networks. Monitor your devices. Observe global data streams. Be alert for anomalies in the coming hours. If this object is awakening for its flyby, we could experience peripheral effects. We are on the shore, watching the ocean withdraw, pondering its retreat. The wave is building, and it will return. In my next report, I intend to discuss the trail, not of a ship through water, but the gravitational and electromagnetic disturbance this object generates in its wake. Don't miss it. If you value this perspective, please like this video and subscribe to Winds of Thought. Anomalous tremors are coursing through the solar wind, and their source is no mystery. We've discussed its arrival and the profound quiet that followed. Now, we must confront the enduring imprint. The true concern may not be the moment it passes, but the permanent alteration it leaves in its path. Do not forget to support this channel. Platforms often suppress content of this nature, but your engagement sustains it. Like, comment, and share. I will meet you in the next segment. We've covered the approach and the silence. Now, we address the aftermath. Any vessel traversing a medium creates a lasting disturbance, a wake. For our interstellar guest, the medium is the sun's relentless particle stream, and its signature is electromagnetic. Unusual readings are beginning to emerge from solar monitoring stations. They detect perturbations. The solar wind, a constant flow of charged particles, typically follows predictable patterns. Yet, in the region of space currently occupied by Visitor X1, the data reveals chaos. It appears the object is towing something along with it, perhaps a magnetic sheath, a protective barrier, or its propulsive emissions. Recall the hydrogen envelope observed by the Martian orbiter. If that constituted fuel, what we witness now could be the active burn. The acceleration persists. The object is increasing its velocity as it prepares to exit our stellar neighborhood. It employs our sun's gravity for a boost, yet it also contributes its own independent force. This turbulence carries implications. We are detecting minor, unpredicted geomagnetic fluctuations. Aurora sightings are occurring at unexpected latitudes. Subtle interference plagues global communication bands. It is faint but undeniable. This is the anomaly I forewarned. However, a more unsettling interpretation exists for this wake. What if it's not merely propulsion? What if it's a form of broadcasting? Picture yourself as an explorer sailing past a deserted island. You do not anchor. You do not disembark. You simply deploy a buoy into the currents. A sensor, a relay, designed to observe long after your departure. Is our visitor deploying similar instruments? This is the seeding postulate. It echoes science fantasy, yet within the framework of panspermia. The theory that life's components are widespread. It is a legitimate inquiry. Comets have long been considered potential carriers of organic material. But a guided artificial construct would not haphazardly scatter molecules. It would deposit observers. It would release nanoscale probes. Perhaps the Martian orbiter's silence wasn't merely a defensive reaction. Perhaps it detected a signal from one such relay. Perhaps it stumbled upon a local network being established by the visitor. We are fixated on the primary object, the glaring distraction, while we should be scrutinizing the void trailing behind it. As December 19th nears, all attention focuses on the closest pass. But I urge you to consider December 20th and 21st. When the object begins to recede, when the media cycle shifts to the next trivial scandal, the genuine investigation must commence. That is when we must attune ourselves to the quiet it has imposed. Should there be observational devices now adrift in our solar system, deployed by this passerby, where are they? Orbiting our sun. Drifting toward Earth? Or did they remain near Mars at the location of the orbital incident? The wake is more than a physical phenomenon. It represents a fundamental shift in perspective. We can no longer view our solar system as an isolated chamber. The doorway has been breached. An entity entered, surveyed, and is now departing, yet it may have installed a lens within the room. The door is open, and we are no longer alone in the house. In the concluding section, I will provide your strategic guide for the final 5 days. What to monitor, what to disregard, and how to brace for the potential of imminent official disclosure. We have entered the encounter's terminal phase. Remain alert. I will see you for the final update. This is the ultimate briefing before the event. We have 5 days. 120 hours. The countdown to December 19th is underway. So, how do we proceed? How do we prepare for an event that global authorities are attempting to dismiss? Here is your guide for the coming days. On days 1 and 2, anticipated deepening silence. Official channels. NASA, ESA, and other major agencies will likely grow quiet. They will publish inconsequential updates, artistic images of faraway nebulae, routine mission reports. Diversions. They will attempt to sideline the Martian orbiter narrative and rationalize the anomalies in the tracking data. Resist this. Monitor independent data streams. Follow the amateur astronomy communities. Authentic information will emerge there. On days 3 and 4, expect disclosures. As pressure mounts, the consensus of silence will fracture. Thousands of individuals work within these organizations. Not all consent to the opacity. Watch for anonymous data leaks. Seek out unprocessed orbital information that conflicts with official models. Note any reports of unexplained malfunctions at major radio observatories. This is often coded language indicating they have encountered the inexplicable. Day 5, December 19th. The moment of closest passage. The visitor will be 275 million kilometers distant, yet it will be positioned directly for observation. If the burst hypothesis holds, this is the moment. If the scanning hypothesis is valid, this is when our planet is cataloged. And if the contact hypothesis is true, then reality transforms before dawn. Prepare for all contingencies. Anticipate sporadic network interruptions. Be ready for official attributions of electronic disturbances to sudden solar activity. Expect a swift shift in the public narrative. If concealment fails, they will resort to fear. They will label it a danger. They will attempt to unify us through anxiety. But recall the words of leading theorists. Recall the metaphor of the nascent idea. This may not be an incursion. It could be an overture. It could be a reflection presented to a species that has lost its capacity for stellar awe. We are not just witnessing history, we are actively shaping it. You are integral to this. Reject the label of just a rock. Reject the dismissal of mere technical glitches. Reject the command to return to complacency. We are conscious. We are observant. We are expectant. Should this channel fall silent, you will understand the cause. Yet the dissemination of knowledge cannot be halted. The reality exists, and it is now moving past us at 240,000 kilometers per hour. Farewell. Remain cautious, and continue to direct your gaze skyward. This transmission is complete. If this perspective matters to you, please like this video and subscribe to my channel.